The US remains in the grip of a wave of protests as both far-right and left-wing groups rally to denounce each other. After some of the demos turned violent, CNN presenter Chris Cuomo made a controversial claim that violence coming from the Antifa movement in America is more morally justified than violence which comes from the far right.
All punches are not equal. Drawing a moral equivalency between those espousing hate and those fighting it because they both resort to violence emboldens hate, legitimizes hateful belief, and elevates what should be stamped out.
OK, well, let's discuss this a bit further now with two guests. Anthony Brian Logan, he's a political and social issues commentator, and also anarchist and playwright Brenton Lengel. They're both with us, and you're both very welcome, chaps. Anthony, let's start with you. What was your reaction to what Chris Cuomo said there?
Well, I was pretty surprised at what he said, but then again, I know it's CNN, so I'm not really that surprised. But here's the thing. Antifa, every time I see them on television, they seem to be getting in some kind of fight, some kind of altercation. It always seems to come from them. It doesn't matter if they're fighting hate or whatever they claim. You can't put your hands on somebody and then hide behind some kind of moral high ground. Don't touch people if you don't want to be touched. That's really just as simple as that. It doesn't matter what political affiliation the other person is. Keep your hands to yourself. That should be the moral of the story. But Chris Cuomo, however, did not see it that way, apparently.
Sure, Brenton, let's bring in you now. I mean, violence is violence, isn't it? It's just wrong. It doesn't matter who does it.
Yes, I will actually agree with that. I am a Buddhist, actually, and violence, even if it's the most justified and righteous violence that you can have, it still creates negative karma. It is still a very problematic thing to use. So it's something that should be diverted to only when it's absolutely necessary. That said, in the case of Antifa versus white nationalists, I mean, there's really no comparison between the two. White nationalists here in the United States, murders by white nationalists have doubled since Trump took office. They are the #1 domestic terror group, with the exception. They're the #1 that targets civilians. The only bigger domestic terror group is sovereign citizens, and they mostly kill cops.
Hang on, Brenton. There are plenty of people on the right that aren't violent. You can't just sort of tar them all here.
I'm talking about specific groups. I'm talking about sovereign citizens, which are the biggest cop killers in the country. And I'm talking specifically about white nationalists. There are plenty of people on the right who are wonderful people. I've got family on the right. My father's on the right. But, you know, he's not a Nazi.
OK, and Brenton, I just want to get your thoughts further on what Chris Cuomo said. What do you think he was trying to say? Because on the face of it, he's sort of saying, it sounds like, it's OK to commit violence if you're on the left, but if you're on the right, I'm sorry, it's wrong.
I didn't really take it that way. The problem there is that I think he tried to frame it in left versus right issues. And I don't think that's right, because first of all, fascism is not really a left-right thing. Fascism is a fascist thing, and fascists will say or claim whatever to gain power for themselves. Right now, they are associated with the right through the election of Donald Trump. And that's one of the reasons, in my opinion, why their killings have doubled. Okay. But you know, they do not represent the right in general. And I think most people on the right absolutely would not agree with what they do.
OK, Anthony, just your reaction to what was said there. I saw you laughing, probably sarcastically at times.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Here's the thing about it. These Antifa people really are what they purport themselves to be against. They're talking about being anti-fascist, but a lot of their action mirrors that of what was under Mussolini's time with the whole black shirt situation. It seems like they're doing the same thing. I'm not saying that they're exactly the same as what was going on back then in Italy, but a lot of their tactics seem to mirror what they were doing. Just because somebody has a different point of view than you does not mean. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Just because somebody is hateful in your eyes does not mean that it's okay or somehow justified at all to hurt them. You can't say, oh, well, the violence, or it may be justified. No, it's not. If somebody does not put their hands on you, you cannot put your hands on them. It's very simple. If you put your hands on somebody, then that person has the right to defend themselves. But until that point, you should be able to have a fair exchange of ideas. See, we have freedom of speech in this country. You can say things that offend people, and I have the right to respond in kind, but I can't put my hands on you. There's no justification or excuse in any kind of way.
Well,
you
you're
can
talking
actually
legally
make
there.
for that action.
You know, freedom of speech protects you from the state. It protects you from the cops putting you in jail for what you say. And I'm 100% behind that because we can't trust the state with that power to jail whoever. That said, this freedom of speech does not mean that everything you say needs to be tolerated. You know, you talk about don't put your hands on somebody. Well,
So can you
there's somebody
because of their speech?
there's somebody that wears a mask, attacks dangerous people without personal provocation, and puts their hands on them. And you know who it is? It's Batman. Antifa they are doing the same things that a lot of our superheroes do. I'm not calling them superheroes, but I'm saying this type of behavior is justified in our society. Violence can be used to prevent greater violence, and there is nothing greater than people who advocate genocide. I mean, once again, if you want to talk about Antifa violence, Antifa in their entire history, they have never killed a single person, not one.
Okay, but whatever the opinions are, Brenton, it boils down to the law, doesn't it? It's against the law to commit violence against another individual.
Yeah, of course, but the law does not dictate morality. The law is just the law. Now, if you'll say, like, if you're an Antifa person and you go out and you get into a fight and you get caught by the cops, sorry, you got caught. You know, and I would say that if I was in the position of a cop or a judge, I would have to carry out that whatever sentence seemed fair. I might be a little bit more understanding because of the circumstances, and that's where mercy comes in with justice.
Okay.
But, you know, the law and morality are completely different.
Okay, let me just ask you, both of you, another question here. Anthony, why are we seeing so much talk of violence when, OK, there are political divisions, people have different opinions, but now we're seeing much more, not just a general debate about politics, it soon boils down to violence and concerns about violence. Why have we reached this stage, do you think, Anthony?
I think some people are afraid of where the country is going, so they're reacting in an emotional way. These Antifa people, they saw Donald Trump get elected, so they feel like, I don't know, maybe they're somehow in danger of being eliminated. Although there's no real evidence of that, they may feel that way. So then they go out and act in a certain way that is totally irrational. I mean, people talking about, oh, well, it's morally acceptable to hurt those who are talking about hate. But what about the innocent people? I've seen members of the media get attacked by Antifa. Antifa is trying to help them in their goal in many ways, but the media is being attacked by them. You see school teachers being attacked,
Hang on, the media
police
is also
officers,
being attacked by Donald Trump supporters
wait, hold on. I'm not finished. You see people that are people of color, as the left likes to call them, being attacked by these individuals because of their political opinions. So I don't really understand this whole thing about, well, it's okay, it's somehow justified for the violence that Antifa does, because most of the time when I see them engaging in this violence, it's against those who just have different points of view or innocent bystanders. These people are just afraid, they're cowards, and they're acting in a way that is totally irrational because of their fear.
Sure, let's bring in Brenton then. Brenton, do you feel that political debates become more violent now? Is this something you're feeling, or is it just a sensational aspect of media reporting?
You know, I'd have to see the statistics on that. You know, we have seen a outbreak in street fighting between fascists and anti-fascists. That absolutely has happened. And that's happened previously during the rise of fascism. You know, you're talking about the black shirts. Who did the black shirts fight? They fought the communists. They fought the anarchists. They fought anybody that stood in their way to take power. Same thing with the brown shirts. Same thing with the fascists in Spain. So the street fighting is new, I think. That said, you know, the violent rhetoric, this is a violent world we live in. America's a violent nation. People, it's in our media. It's in our entertainment. It's in our movies. It's all over the place. So I would really have to see the statistics to see if things are safer or worse.
And Anthony, does it concern you where things are reached at the moment in America? I mean, you talk pretty calmly whenever we speak to you, and you seem pretty reserved about it all, but are you concerned about the way political debate is going?
Well, I am kind of concerned about the direction that the left is headed in. I really feel bad for my brothers and sisters on the left, because I feel like they're just not really understanding what's going on in the country. Those that are just the extremes, because the average everyday person, they don't really care too much about politics. They're just trying to go to work, take care of themselves and their families. They don't really understand what's going on in this political world. But you have a lot of people who are out there who are becoming afraid, fearful, and they exist in echo chambers, and then they go out here and commit acts of violence. So for those groups of people, I feel concerned for, and I feel like they're going to be doing this type of thing until maybe they just figure out what's really happening in our country. And I'm not quite sure when that point will actually come.
Sure. And Brenton, just the final few seconds to you then. How would you sum up the political debate and the situation in America at the moment?
You know, it reminds me of something that one of the major alt-right figures, Augustus Sol Invictus, said in a debate with Caleb Maupin, RT's own Caleb Maupin. And he said at the end of this debate, politics is when you stop talking and you pick up a gun. There is a hardcore of very, very dangerous people that are currently trying to undermine our democracy and are trying to inflict terror on people that they think don't deserve to live. You've got Adam Waffen in Florida that were building bombs. You've got the murder of Heather Heyer in Charlottesville. You've got the murders of those two men on the train in Portland. You have the murder of the unfortunate black gentleman by the neo-Nazi with the gladius here in New York, who killed him with a sword. The thing between left and right violence is that left violence, and it's terrible when it happens within a revolutionary context. It happens within the context of a war that is going on. But with Nazis, not right-wingers, but Nazis, they attack as soon as they think they can get away with it, which is why their murders doubled once Donald Trump was elected.
I'm going to have to wrap it up there. It's been good to talk to you both. We appreciate your time this evening. That was Anthony Brian Logan and also Brenton Lengel. Thank you.